Hi everyone, seems to be the day for videos. I tried to split the day between doing some stuff on the house and doing some stuff on the road bike. Pretty much got to a point now on the house where I'm just waiting for things to dry so I can give them a second coat. So I've decided to come out and start on the bike. Now some of the things that I had to get done on the bike, and I sort of knew this from the time I bought it, there's nothing wrong with them, but eventually they would have needed changing. I needed to change front and rear sprockets, chain, and one of the unexpected things was I ended up with a little crack in the rear disc rotor. It's a drilled rotor, and I've got a crack leading from the outside edge to the first hole, and then from the first hole to the second hole. So we had a lot of issues trying to get a rotor for it. Don't ask me why, but we did, and we got one. So that's all the stuff I got. I got some ceramic carbon brake pads, new disc rotor, new chain. That was probably the most expensive piece out of the whole lot. That was about 150 bucks. The place where I get all my Hunter parts from only keeps these chains. He doesn't keep the shit stuff. He only keeps the good stuff. So I said, well, if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. So I got that. You also mentioned something about most places only keep 122 link chain. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on it. But this is 124 link chain. So whatever it is, he says it's good enough to do my bike. Rear sprocket, we've actually gone a little bit smaller. We've gone down to a 32 tooth sprocket. I've currently got a 34 tooth sprocket on there, so it tends to scream on the freeway a little bit. Up around 80 k's to 100, it sounds like the piston's going to shoot out the side of the block. So hopefully that should fix the problem. The front sprocket's standard. They don't make a different size sprocket for the front on these bikes. And I've got the gasket for around the tank here, and I've got the new chrome, whatever you want to call it. They refer to it as a dash. Some say it's a bezel, some say it's a fascia, some say it's tank mount molding, speedo mount. So whatever it is, I finally got the gasket. He should have ordered that when he ordered the new chrome piece, but he didn't, and I finally got that now, so I can actually change that over. So what we're doing, what I've started to do is I've started to dismantle the bike. I've got it sitting up here on the frame at the back, which was actually a good thing, because it seems my exhausts weren't evenly sitting even. By putting this block of wood here on top of this old piece of railway line, and lowering the bike down, it's actually brought both of the exhausts in line with each other now. So they're actually sitting pretty good now. So yeah, I'm just going to tinker around with this and start loosening bits and pieces off, and I will pick up on the vid a bit later. As you can, well, before we do that, as you can see, I've already got the rear chain guard off. I've got the rear brake light and number plate taken off, and I'm just about to take this front cover off here. Okay, so we got the back wheel off now. So I'm just undoing the nuts on this sprocket. Take the sprocket off. Let me get this camera set up a bit better. Oops. Sorry guys. No tripod, I broke it. One thing I bought to make my footage a bit better, I broke it. So now I don't know a lot about road bikes. As I've said in previous videos, I'm more of a trail bike person, so all this modern stuff, I really don't know much about it. I was interested to see that the hub actually comes out and there's these rubber blocks inside here. Now they seem to fit in there really tight. Are they worn? There's like the slightest amount of movement, but I imagine that there would be. There has to be some give in it, otherwise it'd just shred them. So I'm gonna have a crack at this one. Now that should come off pretty easy. It's no different to a trail bike. There we go. So that's off. So I'll slip that out, so when I drag the chain out, this doesn't drop onto the chrome and dint stuff. But sorry about the footage here, I'm all over the shop today. But now we're up in the air. Let's just have a look at this. From what I've been told, there's no difference. There's no difference in teeth for the front. Nah, that looks good. But one thing I can definitely tell is there's a lot chewed off. There's a lot chewed off the teeth on. Oops, damn it. Bad camera. There's a lot chewed off the teeth of this old sprocket. Definitely. When I laid them on top of each other. So that's probably a good thing. That one is going and this new one's going on. Okay. Front sprocket's on. No issues with that. Although that one bolt didn't want to go in, it was like it was cross-threading, but I managed to took it all off again, screwed it back in. It might have just been a little bit of dirt in there, so that's all good. I'm going to start on this disc. Now you might be able to see in the camera. There's the crack there. Starts from the outside, goes to the first hole, then from the first hole to the second hole. So yeah, it was pretty hard to actually track one of these down, believe it or not. This is a generation 1, the first generation Hunter, so parts for them are getting pretty hard to find, but you know, we've got a waved one, and I've been assured that it will work. It's the same diameter. All the holes are supposed to line up, which they do. My only problem is getting those bolts out. Now I do have an impact gun, and I do have the hex bits for these. At this stage I'm hoping that I can actually do this with just a hex key and a breaker bar. And pretty tight. This would be the original. This would be an original disc, so I think I'm going to need to get the impact gun out and maybe even soak it in some Penetrine or WD-40. Can do that, soak it for a little while. It's better than bending my my hex keys. Wouldn't you know it? Got some of it here, right here, and I'm running out too. The only way I'm going to get that in there is to actually stand that up. There we go. So again, I'm going to have to shut the vid down, go set up the tools. Hi everyone, it's been a while. Lots and lots and lots of things going on in my life at the moment. As you know, we were working on the house. that's still an ongoing project. I've got I've had 2 quotes this week, one to do the roof and one to replace gutters, downpipes and fascia board, Colorbond fascia board covers. So I need to sort of work one out with the other. The guy that's going to repoint the roof and bed everything in needs to come and clean the roof whilst the old gutters are on the roof, because my roof's been painted in the past, and obviously they're going to blow a lot of the old paint off and it's going to go into the gutters. They don't want that to go into the new gutters, so they're going to come and they're going to clean the roof first. Then the gutter mob will come in, they'll do the gutters, fascia covers, downpipes. Then the roofing guy will come back, do all his bedding in, pointing and repaint. So that's all supposed to be happening in the next, say, 3 to 4 weeks. We've just hit the start, or we're about to hit the start of April. It's now autumn here in Melbourne, and it's like it's right on cue. Right on cue. It's raining. It's raining. Worst time, because I need to paint the eaves before the fascia board covers can be fitted, and I need to do a small repair out the front, and I need to do this like today, and it wasn't going to happen. So rather than waste my time, I dragged my backside into the garage here and decided to clean up, do a bit of a clean up. I had everything from every project in here. The road bike, the trail bike, everything that I'd been using to do the renos in the house, like the painting, I'd plaster, just everything, all building materials. I couldn't move in here, so I've done a fairly good job today. I've got most of it put back where it belongs. A lot of the stuff went back in the shed because I no longer need it. Did a little bit of work on the bike during the week, not a hell of a lot. Discovered a few things that were going to be an issue that weren't an issue when I first got the bike. As you know, I had to replace a rear disc rotor because I had cracks in the old one. So that went on. I had to put a new chain on it because the old one was stretched, so I replaced the front and rear sprockets at the same time. Now, having a new chain, I could move the wheel forward, but the only problem is with this bobber fender that I've put on the rear end of this, I can only go so far. I can't go the full adjustment, like, you know, take it right up to the very, very end, because the tyre hits the guard. Now, it could be the tyre is larger than the stock one that went on it, or the way I've welded the brackets onto the fender have laid the fender back a little bit more than it would be if it had the original Spider fender on it. And but I found a happy medium. I was almost there the full way forward, but just missed out. So anyway, one of the problems that I came across was that when the wheel moved forward, if you remember, I built these little stabilizer bars to sort of stiffen up the back of the fender, because I had a lot of like sideways movement, and the bracket here ended up snapping. I've repainted this. Believe it or not, this is being done with an aerosol can or with aerosol cans. It's come up probably better than the guy that painted it. It had something like 10 coats of paint or 10 coats of colour put on it, and it had something like 10 coats of clear put on it. And that was just done with aerosol cans, and it's come up really, really bloody good. So I'm happy with that. But as I said, now that we can move the wheel forward, because I've got a new chain on it, the problem was that, I'll just grab it for you, and then I'll show you the difference in the angles. Now, this used to bolt on here, and this used to bolt on to there. But as you can see, the caliper gets in the way. So I had to make another one of these, but I had to make it with a bigger sweep in it. So, and slightly longer. So as you can see, I've got a new one here that I've bent up. So I bought all this stuff home from work. All this this steel. It was junk, and I bought it home, and yeah, it's come in really handy. So I've just got to weld these on. It's got to the end of the day, and I'm absolutely exhausted. I'd love to do it today to say I finished the bike, but I'm not going to do it today. Probably leave it till Monday night. It's Saturday night now, so that will finish off this side. It'll clear the caliper, and obviously when the chain stretches a little and it needs to be adjusted back, there's going to be plenty of clearance there anyway. So so that's all good. So new rotor went on, new pads went in. What else? New front and rear sprocket, and a new chain. This is a type of chain I've never used before. This actually has rubber O-rings in between the linkages, and it doesn't actually have a conventional type of split pin, where you would put the split pin through the linkage. You would put on the basically the linkage cover, and then you'd put your clip on. They don't recommend it on a chain length this long, because these are quite a long frame. So when I opened the packet up, I thought I was getting one with a split link, conventional type of split link, and then I turned the back of the box over, and I've had this chain since, geez, I don't know, it would have been the end of 2018, but because I haven't been able to work on the bike, I never bothered to look at the box. And it said that you needed a special machine to be able to flange the ends of the split pin. So I'm thinking, I don't have this tool, what am I going to do? So I went back to the dealer and I said, you know, you've sold me this one, I don't have the tool. Is there any chance of either getting a conventional type split pin in the same brand, because I did try the old split pin and it comes up short because these have rubber O-rings in them, so it increases the width slightly. And he said, no, he goes, you can't do it, you've got to burr these over. So any of you that have ever dealt with these chains know how to do it. Basically, I used I had one of these round spacers, and I just sort of set it. This is the one here that I've done, so I hope I've done it right, otherwise I'm gonna end up in a mess. So yeah, you just sit that over the top, grab a pair of locking vice grips, and you've got to draw the pin through this, and then move to this side and do the same thing, draw it through and keep moving back and forward until you've got just enough through. And then you need a hard surface like an anvil or something that's solid, that's not going to move, and then you just hit these ends over with a ball peen hammer. He said don't hit them over too far, because obviously you don't want to crush the O-rings, and the other thing is the linkage still needs to be able to move. Well, that all works exactly the way he told me to do it. It obviously looks smaller, the flanges look smaller than these factory pressed ones, but these are copper by the looks of it. They look like copper, so you probably can ball peen them over, where if they were steel like this, you probably have a little bit more trouble. So I'm going to take it down to the dealer, and I'm just going to have him check it, and if he doesn't think it's right, I can get him then and there to correct that for me and just tighten it up a little bit. Yeah, it does look nice with the gold chain too. So yeah, so now everything on the bike's been replaced. I put two new plugs in it as well. I tried to get one of these rubber sort of grommets. I can't get one, and the dealer doesn't know how the grommet on the other side come to not be there, because the cable, spark plug cable, is actually fed through them, and then the boot goes on. So somebody would have had to have taken the boot off the cable, slipped the grommet off the cable, and then put the boot back on. And you normally wouldn't do that unless you were replacing, well, the whole cable. But yeah, so I sort of fabricated something. It's not perfect, but at least I don't have a big massive hole there like I did before. The bike is filthy. It's covered in dust. It's got fingerprints all over it. Needs a good wash. But besides that, that stabilizer bar for the back of it, it's pretty much ready to take for a ride. Test ride it. Make sure that it, it's all good. I think I've got the right amount of tension on the chain. Like I said, I've never owned a cruiser before. I imagine you tension them the same way as you would any bike, trail bike, or a normal road bike, but I really don't know because of the suspension setup. I'm not sure how much play you're supposed to have in it, but I'll get the dealer to check that too and make sure that that I've tensioned the chain properly. So finally, it's nearly, well, yeah, it's been 12 months since I bought the bike, and I've had 12 months of pain, agony, frustration, and expense, and I finally got it to where basically there's no more I can spend on it. I've replaced everything. So, touch wood, fingers crossed. I'll get some cruising out of it, but yeah, now we've hit the bad weather, I don't see the bike coming out much. So hopefully we get the odd nice day and I'll take it to work and enjoy it. I've worked my ass off on this to try and get it up to a decent stage, and where it looks presentable compared to what it was, and I've pretty much done it. The only thing I'm going to do over the winter period is I'm going to get this re-chromed, because I think I mentioned in the previous video that I did order a new one, and I got a new one, and I finally got the new rubber, and the actual finish on the new one was absolutely horrible. It was pitted. It was absolutely crap. The only issues I've got with this one is I've got a little bit of chrome flaking around these two bolts here, but pretty much the chrome, besides a few little scratches and stuff, it is, what is it now, 11 years old. It's the metal's good. It'll chrome up really good. So that's the only thing that I've got to do further on it. I'm not going to really do much else. I might replace these bolts here in the seat springs. I might get some stainless steel bolts. Although I'm not really fussed, you don't really see the head of the bolt because of the spring, and it's just for work anyway. Really, it's not a show bike, it's not a cruiser. One other problem I had was I've got one bolt left. Now, all the other bolts that I needed to put back in for this sprocket guard / chain guard are all in. So I got one in here, they're specific lengths because of the the crankcase housing. There's another one in here, there's one in here, and there's meant to be one in here, and there's a plastic guide underneath that. Now this bolt, this came out, and I've switched all the bolts around and checked them, and they're this one and this one are both the same length as this. These two are different lengths because of the crankcase. I do not have enough thread to come through and put this nut on. I don't know what's happened. I haven't taken any other bolts off the machine at all, and I don't know how this came to be fastened in there originally, and now I can't get it back in. So I've got to have a little bit of a look at things again when I have some time during the week, probably the night that I weld up this stabilizer bar for the back, and try and work out why the hell I can't get this in, why the thread is not long enough to pick up the nut. So that's been probably the biggest disappointment of the work I've done on it today, because I know it should fit, and yeah, I sat there for about 10 minutes just staring at it, trying to work out why it didn't fit. One of the other things I did during this whole process, which has taken me, geez, 3 or 4 months now, just due to waiting on parts and, you know, the house and everything else, was the back. As you know, the rims weren't in great condition. I'd lost a lot of, there's a lot of deterioration in the chrome plating, and this back wheel was an absolute mess. It almost looked like it had no chrome on it. It was dirty. It was black and dirty, and it just looked freaking horrible. The front wheel wasn't as bad. There is some spots where it's starting to flake a little bit, but the front wheel's fairly clean. The back wheel looked atrocious, but I scrubbed it up. I got out there in the backyard with some steel wool and scrubbed it and scrubbed it and scrubbed it, and it started to come up really, really good. I was very surprised. I think most of it was dirt and grease, to be honest. Yeah, the chrome is missing, but I don't intend getting these wheels re-chromed, just due to expense. They'll do what I need it to do. Most of it's hidden by, you know, all the hardware on the back anyway. But what I did is, as I did with a lot of the bolts and things that were starting to show signs of surface rust, I cleaned them all up, and you know, cleaned them all up, soaked them in vinegar, and then pulled them out, put them in prep wash, cleaned them all up, and then I used enamel clear coat, no, acrylic clear coat over the top of it, and I did the same with this rim. I sprayed this rim as I did with the XR100, the back rim on that one too, because that was all flaking. So basically I've sealed the rim now, and if it stays as shiny as that, I'll be very, very happy. So, you know, you'll be able to see in the footage there's bits that are flaked off it, but at the end of the day, the rim's shiny, so, you know, I got to be happy with that. Never know, I might find someone wrecking one online on eBay or something like that that's in really good condition. I might be able to pick the back wheel up for $100 or something like that. If I can do that, find another rim somewhere down the track, I'll definitely look at that option to replace this one. But for now, yeah, it's good enough. You can see all the grease and fingerprints. So hopefully one day next week, when I get a chance and everything's fitted up and all the bolts are being rechecked and tightened and everything like that, we'll give it a wash and we'll go for a little cruise on it.